All right, we are getting started with our second episode of the Book Mash. Welcome. If you did not watch our first episode, please go watch that. We introduced ourselves, talked a little bit about why we were starting our podcast channel, and we did a fun spin where we had two books. Well, I had two books I had to read, and Ash had
Hey, I
one
would
book
have
she
reread
had to
it.
read. All right, so today we are going to talk about the two books that were on our list. And before we get started, the first book that we read together was The Perfect Child. This was one that was on our spinner board for the thriller category, and Ash got to choose that one. And then our other one was Sister Choose, and so Ashley chose for me to read Haunting Adeline, so we'll talk about that as well. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the two books, it is important for us to make sure that we tell you there are some content warnings that you need to read before you read either of these books.
Both of them.
For both books. The Perfect Child has some child abuse, forced institutionalization. I can say that word, I promise. Animal death and cruelty. So make sure that you heed those trigger warnings before you read that book. And then Haunting Adeline, if you've read this, then you know. But if you don't, please make sure you read the trigger warnings. There's abuse, there's some human trafficking, sexual assault, there's gore, violence, and trauma. Sounds scary, but in the book you don't really notice a lot of it, so I'm just gonna say that. But definitely
in Haunting Adeline, you especially, like, when you read the trigger warnings, you're like, oh my Lanta, no, I am not reading this. But it doesn't seem as, like, intense as the trigger warnings make it seem.
Anytime you read a book, you should read the trigger warnings, especially if you're someone that knows that you have those triggers. If you're somebody that doesn't really have things that bother you while you're reading, then it's not a huge deal, but I would always recommend reading the trigger warnings.
Yes.
Yes. We have our Discord that has been going on. If you haven't jumped in there, make sure you do and chat with us about the books. We will chat with you about the books that we've read today. Any other books that you want to talk to us about, make sure you're jumping in there and doing that. But let's go ahead and get started with our discussions of our two books that we read.
So the first book, like Miranda said, I spun thriller, and I have been waiting for the perfect time to read The Perfect Child. I've read one other Lucinda Berry book, and it was Saving Noah. And this book was completely different in such a good way. So when I spun thriller, I was like, this is the perfect time for me to finally knock that off of my TBR. And I get to force somebody else to read it too. So a quick summary is... Oh, Miranda, can you look up the characters' names again?
We have Christopher.
Oh, Christopher's the father.
The doctor, adopted father. Then we have Hannah, who is the nurse, adopted mother. And then Jamie is our perfect child in the story.
So one thing, side note, if you guys don't know anything about me, is I'm very, very bad about remembering a lot of details of books. I can tell you as soon as I'm done reading it, and then I lose everything. So, like, character names, unless I'm reading,
okay.
4 to 5...
I got you.
Yeah, unless I'm reading, 4 or 5 books in the same series, I'm not going to remember. But anyway, so Christopher and Hannah work at a hospital. Hannah is a nurse in the emergency room. This child comes in severely malnourished. You can tell she's been beaten, abused, all of the things. And she needs a placement. And so Hannah and Christopher end up bringing her into her house. And this is the spoiler-free version, by the way. Things happen to make her not the perfect child. And... and it totally, some of the things, like, we're going to go down deeper into this in a couple minutes so that you guys know if I don't want a spoiler, then I can just skip this part. But, and it's the end of it is crazy, but it leaves you in a terrible spot. Like, Lucinda, where's the second part? I want to know
Yes.
what happens next.
I was like, is there a second book?
Yeah, I think I even went and looked it up, and I'm like, is
I
there a
did.
second one of these? But no, she just left us forever on that part. And I'm like turning the page, and I'm looking to see if there's a torn piece, and I'm like,
I couldn't
this
do
is
that on
the
my
end.
Kindle.
This is the end. Oh, it killed me. So, yeah, spoiler free version. Um, so before we read the book, how did you feel before we read the book?
I was interested. I to me, I was thinking, oh, this isn't like something mixed with a romance, because normally that's what I read is thriller, like romance, suspense, romance, things like that. So I was like, okay, this might be different. But I did read a lot of James Patterson when I was a teenager, and so I still have like that inkling in the back of my mind that like books like that are going to be good, even though I haven't been reading those as an adult. So when we first spun and you were like thriller, and I'm like, well, is it going to be a romance suspense? You're like, no. I'm like, no. Why do we have to do this? But as I started reading, I realized that it was really good. Like, I loved the way that she had the flashbacks and flash forwards. So we had the social
Mhm.
worker being interviewed by the police officers and private investigator, and we didn't get any information that was pertinent to what was going on. But we had those flashbacks where we were looking at Christopher and Hannah and their relationship with Janie and how it was developing and changing. And it was just interesting to see how the questioning of the social worker fit in with what was happening in that
Yeah.
flashback. So I really enjoyed the way that she had it set up in the book. And I think that's what initially caught my attention. I was like, okay, this is going to be good.
Mhm.
I also had a lot of guesses as to what the social worker was even being questioned for,
Yeah.
and none of them were right.
Mhm.
None of them were right.
That's one thing
So,
about Lucinda Berry is you can never just put it down. Like, there's never, most books have a spot where they're like transitioning the storyline or the plot or anything, and like you're like, oh, I can take a break here. With Lucinda Berry, the way she writes, even in Saving Noah, there's no stopping. Like, there's no point in the book where you're like, oh, I feel comfortable putting it down right now. You have to find out what happens.
yeah, I agree. I agree. All
So
right.
how'd you feel afterwards?
Same as you. I I was so looking forward to the development after what seemed to be the cliffhanger, and I got
Mhm.
stuck hanging on the cliff. I want to get off the
Looking down
cliff,
the edge.
but I don't know that we'll ever get off the cliff. It's just a permanent fixture, I guess. So,
Yeah, same thing with me. Like I said, when I was reading Saving Noah, I knew I wanted to read more Lucinda Berry books, and she has lots of great books that I'm so excited to read. So I knew this one was probably also going to be great. Um, I just like you, I've read a lot of James Patterson thrillers, and I've kind of put my toes in the water, like as an adult, with Frida McFadden thrillers. But for the most part, I don't really read thrillers, and I I just don't see myself gravitating towards them as much. So that's why I was so excited when I got to spin the wheel and we got thriller, because it got to bring both of us out of our comfort zone.
mhm.
Um while I was reading, same thing. I was like, I was in it. Like I just said, like there was no stopping point. You couldn't just put the book down and be like, "Okay, I'm going to go on my day." My phone keeps saying reconnecting, so hopefully this doesn't mess up our video.
Yeah.
By the way, we're using a new app. If you are watching this, let us know if you like it better than Google Meets. We're kind of toying with different versions and seeing what's the best to use. Eventually, I will be at Miranda's house so we can record together. But until we get to that point, this is how we're doing it.
And we're newbies,
Sorry.
so if you have
Yeah.
recommendations for what works
We're
best, like if you
yeah,
know what
we're up for it.
platforms might work for this, let us know because we're
Yeah.
open to suggestions.
100%. So yeah, going back to how I felt before and after, I was so excited before. Just like Miranda said, afterwards, Lucinda Berry just crushed me, and I'm like, where do I find the next page? But it
Right.
was never there.
Even
So we're
just to
gonna
have
go.
like an epilogue.
Yes, an epilogue would have been great in this
Just
situation.
something to show us
Something.
the next step.
Ah! I'm gonna tag Lucinda in this too when I put up things on Instagram. So then Lucinda Berry can let us know what actually happens. Or if
Yeah,
there's a
maybe
second book
she
coming
has
out.
it in the back of her brain, like how she would develop this story if she
Lucinda, we gotta know.
finished it.
So we're gonna go in for a little bit more of a deeper dive. If you do not want spoilers, I'm gonna have my Kindle in my hand, starting when we start. Okay? If you see my Kindle go down, that means we're no longer talking about the book where the spoilers are.
Good call.
So,
I like it.
Kindle's up, then you know there's spoilers happening. So yeah, deep dive into this book. I could not believe the twists and turns in this story.
Mm-hmm.
I just like you, I swore I knew what was happening. I knew why the baby got hurt. I knew what was happening. I knew that she had to have done something to that baby just like she did to her cat. And I was like, she did it, she did it. And then when Hannah's admitted into the loony bin, you're like, she did it? Like, there's no way
Right?
she hurt her own baby.
I know.
And I was
I
just
know.
dumbfounded. And then some of the things that little girl did with Christopher, I was like, girl, you are too young to be this manipulative.
Right?
Way too young.
And the fact that he didn't see it the entire time, like, open your eyes, buddy.
And everybody's telling him. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah's sister is like, we cannot do this anymore. We cannot have her in our house. And he goes, well, I don't understand why. I guess I'll try to figure out a way to get her home. And you're
Yeah,
like,
and then Allison
dude,
paid the price.
yes.
Boy,
Like,
howdy did she.
holy macaroni. And then he went and told Hannah, and he's like, it's like a nonchalant, like, oh, by the way, your sister died today. And, like, I didn't.
The fact that Hannah stays with Christopher blows my mind.
Yeah. I could not believe it.
Like, after all of that.
Yeah. The twists in this, and I would have thought she was gonna leave. That's what I thought was gonna happen. I thought that she was gonna leave him with the baby, and Janie was gonna kill him because he tried to get back to Hannah. That's how I thought the story was gonna go.
Yeah, I can see that. I knew after the cat incident that Janie was going to be a bad seed.
Uh-huh.
I did not know that what happened with Hannah was going to happen with Hannah, with the baby. That threw me for a loop. I had no idea. Yeah. I did have an inkling what was going to happen to Allison. I didn't know if it was going to be Allison or if it was going to be one of the boys. I had a feeling it was going to be one or the other. And then Janie's biological mother.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. How a 6-year-old could manage that, I do not know.
I know, when I was reading that, I'm like, are you joking me? She's 6. Like, I can barely remember when I'm 6, let alone like me being able to do that. Like, I look at my
Mhm.
own son who's 7, and I'm like, there is no possible way that that boy could do that.
Well, and then it's interesting because when we first meet Janie, we have this like empathy for her for all she's
Mm-hmm.
gone through. And we're so sad that like this kid has gone through so much. And even when we find out what happens with her bio mom, I still feel like
Yes.
that sadness for her, even though she's done such terrible things. Like, it's hard because it pulls you in both directions.
Well, especially what we do for a living and like what our mother did for a living. Like we automatically are going to have sympathy for the child. The child could be like on a unaliving spree, and we
Yeah,
would still have sympathy for that child just because of how we were raised and what we do as a for a living. But
yeah,
and I think at least I did. I still had sympathy for her like all the way to the end. Just because of what she was put through as a child. Like
yeah.
when you see the details, like the dog collars and the video recording, it's like, oh my gosh. So,
Yeah. Nuts. Crazy.
yeah,
It was
you need to read
definitely the
Saving Noah.
epitome of a thriller. I've heard a
Yeah.
lot of really good things about Saving Noah.
Saving Noah is very dark. Again, read your trigger warnings before you go reading the book. But that's a good one. I don't want to talk about it because I want another sister pick in
There you
April.
go.
We're going to talk about that later. So that maybe I can pick Saving Noah for you
There you
because whew,
go.
I cried in ways I've never cried before. That's like another Rebecca Yarros book right there. So good.
If it makes me cry as much as I cried during the last letter, then I'll be wrecked.
But it makes you cry in a different way.
Okay. I mean,
But
wrecked is wrecked.
these books, like after reading some of these books, I'm not going to have a heart anymore. Because every
um,
book that makes me cry takes another chunk of my heart.
I'm very emotional. Like, I'll tear up during
No.
cartoons. No,
I do too.
shush up. I wasn't just telling you, okay? It's not just you listening. Gosh. No, my kids make fun of me though because I'll tear up at the silliest things. Like, I have an example, but I don't want to ruin anybody that has not watched Heartland because if you've gotten to the point in Heartland,
Hey, the spoiler warning is up.
okay, spoiler warning is up. Okay, in Heartland, when Ty died,
Oh,
I cried and my kids laughed at me. It was horrible. So yeah, I cried. I
do
cry
you
at
want to know the
anything.
worst part? I'm probably going to get both of us going right now. Our grandpa passed away and he loved Heartland. And he passed away before Ty died. And then the
Yeah.
next season was when Ty died. And like, I couldn't handle it. Because grandpa and I would watch Heartland together upstairs. And it it ruined me. Like even if I go and I rewatch Heartland now, I have to skip that episode just because of the feelings I felt when I watched that episode.
Well, and I think a lot of our experiences too have made it so that we're more emotional when things like that happen,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in books or movies or whatever, because
Yeah.
we know those feelings and we can sympathize with the people that are going through those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I just read an arc where the dad had lung cancer.
Oh.
And they don't actually get to the part in the books where he passes, but during the books, like through, because I had to read the first one because the second one was the arc. So all through the books, they're talking about how like they're preparing for him to be gone and stuff, and he's not supposed to make it through to the next year. And it just killed me the entire time because I know that feeling. Like I understand, we
So my
understand
grandpa
what
passed
that's
away
like.
from lung and kidney cancer, and he fought for a very long time. And yeah, same thing. Anytime like cancer's brought up, it just breaks me.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, life experiences, as hard as they are, makes us better people because we can empathize, not just with characters, but with other people around us. So.
Yeah. But when the
Okay.
characters come into play.
We gotta move on from this now.
Okay, so we already kind of talked about Janie as a character.
Yes.
Super psychologically, like, she can twist your mind, she can play both sides, she's very, very smart, and she knows how to work it. Yeah, that girl. The ending, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Satisfying or frustrating? I think it was both.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're kind of reading it, and the ending, if you're reading like the physical book, is like 3 or 4 lines, I think, on the last page. And I think that's how much it was. And maybe I finished it on my Kindle. Anyway, so you're like reading the couple pages before, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so good. Like, and like you're getting what you needed from the book, and then you turn the page, and like,
and it's like a stop sign.
Spoiler warning, because this is still up. So
yeah,
you turn the page, and they're like, let's go see what she thinks. And the social worker's going to the house with the detective, and you're like, what happens?
Yeah. How does Christopher react to this news?
Yeah.
I mean, we already know how Hannah's going to react because she knew all along.
Yeah.
But what happens with, like, what does Christopher do when he finds this information out?
But we don't know, because Lucinda Berry just left us. Final thoughts and ratings. What did you rate The Perfect Child?
So if you watched episode 1 of our podcast, you know that I am a very giving rating person. Like, I always rate high. For this one, I would give it a 4. I feel like that is a good rating, just because I wasn't super happy with the ending. I was left wanting, which could be good if there's another book following, but I don't think there is. So I gave it a 4. And that's like a normal person's like 3, I think.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a 4.
See, I think I did 5 just because, so I'm a person who has very little time to read. I try to read as much as I can, like before bed, in my spare time, like on my lunch breaks. But for me, like, if I can't put the book down, it automatically gets a 5. Like, if I'm literally, like, finding times at school, or finding times like at work, or finding times throughout my day to like bring it up on my phone and read 3 or 4 lines, then I'm automatically going to give it a 5, which is what I gave The Perfect Child, because like I said earlier, you literally could not stop.
Yeah.
So
true.
I automatically gave it a 5. Who would enjoy this book?
I'd say anybody that likes the mystery.
I can put the Kindle down.
Yeah, you could put the thing down. Anybody that likes a mystery, like if you want suspense and you want that psychological thriller, this one fits that genre really well. So if you're someone that likes books like that, definitely this would be a good one for you.
I agree. 100%.
Nice.
Okay, so let's start with Haunting Adeline.
All right, we're moving right along here. So when I spun the wheel, I got Sister Twos. And Haunting Adeline has been on my TBR for a long time, and I just hadn't gotten to it. I've heard lots of good things. I've seen so many Instagram reels talking about Haunting Adeline, and I just hadn't jumped into it. So the fact that she picked it for me worked out good, because I knew it was something that I was probably going to like, and I did. It was so good, I couldn't put it down. But let's talk about my first impression. So, spoiler-free version. I don't know how to explain this. Like, okay, so you have Adeline. She's moving into this house that her grandmother and her great-grandparents lived in. And right off the bat, we're told that there's like spirits in the house. And at first I'm starting to read it, and I'm reading it like at night in bed. I'm like, do I want to read this right now? because you get that like eerie feeling. So it's got that in there, but it also has like our stalker that starts at the beginning of the book when she moves into this place. And if you know, you know, right? My reaction was it was a good pick. I'm glad I read it. I'm excited to get a break in my ARC book so that I can read the second one because I have it already loaded on my Kindle and it's ready to go. But I just have too many ARCs that I'm doing right now. So as soon as I get done with those, like I have a break. I literally made myself a break in my calendar for the second book, as well as Beautiful Exile, because that Catherine Cowles has that coming out next week. So I'm like, okay, those are the 2 books I'm reading during my break from my ARCs. I'm not signing up for any more. I'm reading the second book to Haunting Adeline. I'm gonna do it.
But
All
then
right.
are you gonna add Where's Molly?
Maybe.
And
I like
the
spin-offs,
Shibley one.
but sometimes I have to take a break from it.
Oh,
We'll see.
Where's Molly? I don't remember what the Shibley one's called. But Where's Molly is worth it. It's not very big. I don't know
Okay.
where I put it's not very big at all. It's actually pretty thin. Oh, I put it over on my shelf because I get to keep that one because it has a skull on it. It's only like maybe 200 pages, and it's like so worth it. So I would say that Satan's Affair, that's what the book's called. Satan's Affair is good. It tells Shibley's like backstory, but if you don't read it, you're not like it's not gonna hurt your story or anything. Where's Molly is like she could make a whole nother series with Where's Molly.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
so good. But it's short and sweet. And I loved it. I loved
Nice.
it.
Yeah, maybe.
So
Maybe.
yeah. Okay, what's next?
Let's do spoilers. Deep dive.
Okay. Kindle's
Kindle's up,
up. You know
guys.
what that means.
All right. So we have some dark romance and very morally gray characters. Let's talk about how our characters compare to like a traditional thriller. So we read a thriller, we read The Perfect Child at the same time. So it actually worked out that we're talking about a dark romance with morally gray characters against a traditional thriller. So if we're looking at Haunting Adeline versus The Perfect Child, they both have like that eerie suspense, like you don't know what's going to happen. But in Haunting Adeline, we have Zaid trying to push himself into Addie's life. We've got him following her around. He knows what she's doing all the time. And then the fact that he is the boss of her friend's company, like the fact that it's so intertwined is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that even though he wants to protect her from everybody, he's also interested in like hurting her, but in a way that he loves her and wants to hurt her. It's like, so yeah, we've definitely got the morally gray going on.
My take on the characters when it comes to like the thriller version versus like the dark romance, I don't want a Janie. I would love a
Yes,
Zaid.
that's a good way to look at it. No, I don't want
would
to do
love
it
for a
either.
man to chop off somebody's arm just for touching me and put it on my porch.
Oh my gosh, he stressed me out.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
woo! When he did that, I was like, girl, you better marry that man.
I worry about you.
Just wait till the second one.
But I don't think other people would disagree with you. So like,
No. But do I really, like, could I really handle that in real life? Heck no. But the
yeah,
thoughts of it,
exactly. I think I'm too logical for that.
yep. I'd be calling the police and that
What's
hand on my
going on
porch.
does not work for me. No.
No. Stalkers,
No.
no.
Okay. So we're talking about Zaid already. Do we feel that Zayd is a hero, a villain, or something else?
I wouldn't really consider him a villain just because of what he does. Like, he gets rid of like people who kidnap children and people who rape women and all of that stuff. Like, he gets rid of them. So, but at the same time, like, so he's a hero in that sense. But I think with Addie, like, he's a villain.
Um, so in our first book, like with him being a stalker and being kind of weird, I do think that he is a villain, especially with the way he goes about things with Addie. But I also see where you're saying like he is a hero because he didn't have any reason for protecting these people aside from the fact that he just wanted to do it. Like he doesn't have a backstory that caused him trauma. He just wants to protect these kids and these women who have been human trafficked, and he's taking out all of the worst people. And
Yeah.
that is definitely something that is a good thing, right? But then you wonder, like, if he doesn't have this background trauma, like, why does he treat Addie the way that he treats her? And
I know.
how is that a good way to show like his affection and love? I mean, obviously, we have the spoiler Kindle up, guys. Obviously, she accepts it. Like, she moves
Yeah.
on from some of that crazy things that he does, but I don't know.
I
I
always
don't think
thought
he's a villain necessarily.
I always like got butterflies in my tummy when he'd leave like the whiskey and the rose. Like for some reason I'm like, "Oh girl."
Oh,
Like
girl, this guy broke into your house and left you a flower.
and drink your whiskey.
I would pass on that. Thanks, though.
But it was like that was him being romantic. Like that was his version of romance. Whether it's anybody else's version, like that's Zayd's version of
True, and I
like I
obviously
love
wait
you.
for her at some point. Like, it, yeah.
Just wait for the second one. I cannot wait
As
for
morally
you to
gray
read
as
the second one.
it is a great read. It definitely keeps you on your toes. It keeps you in suspense. You definitely want to know what happens next. I couldn't put the book down. It was definitely 5-star for me. Um, and it was a good pick. You did a good job.
I also, when I read it like 6 months to a year ago, I also rated it 5 stars because same thing. Couldn't put it down. I think that was my first like super dark romance book. Like I read, I don't know, a pillow dark romance where like they're soft. Um, like mafia romances and stuff. I read those kind, but like this was like my first like really dark romance, and this is what got me into more dark romance. And oh, like no, he's the shadow daddy.
Okay. I'm gonna say okay because there's like so many ways I could, yeah. Um, when you get sister picks, I have some dark romance ones for you that I've read. Like Feathers So Vicious. You guys know, if you've read that, you know what I'm talking about. That one, that duology, the two with that go with that. Yeah. You will be so stuck on those for it will be you will have the same reaction when you're done reading those as you did after you read Onyx Storm where you were in your slump. If I have you read that duology, you're going to be like at a stopping point. You won't read for a while. I'm telling you right now, that's the way it's going to be.
I almost started Zodiac Academy yesterday. I
Oh
was that
boy.
close.
Erica with a K is reading those right now and I've been watching
Oh,
her
I've
reels
seen it.
and I'm
Oh,
like, "Yes!
I almost
Keep
sent you one of
going."
her TikToks yesterday. The one where she's like stopping on book 3 because they
Mhm.
want her to go read the Ruthless Boys. Like TikTok World wants her to go read them.
Okay. Well, we could go on a whole different tangent for Zodiac Academies because I've read all of the Ruthless Boys Academies. I've read all of the Zodiac Academy. I haven't read the Wolf series. But I will eventually. I have to take like little breaks. But
I have to put the Kindle down.
I honestly don't
no,
think that the series order really matters. Like, you don't have to read Ruthless Boys in the middle of Zodiac Academy like people are saying. I actually really enjoyed reading it after reading Zodiac Academy because if you've read Zodiac Academy, you know who Gabriel is, right? So Gabriel is in the Ruthless Boys, and it's when he is at school. It's not Zodiac Academy. He's at the other one. But it shows him like younger, and he's obviously like a seer, and he gets these visions of the twins. And I really, 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 really enjoyed like seeing the visions and knowing what happens next, because I have an idea of what happened with him, but obviously we're just learning what happened with him. So I think if you read Zodiac Academies and then you go back, it's totally fine. I don't think the reading order. Okay, tangent done. Done. Yes.
Okay, favorite
I
or
just had
most
to say
shocking
that.
moment?
That's a good question. I think my favorite moment was when the little girl that Zayd saves asks if he'll be her daddy. I don't know why. I just thought that was so cute.
I know.
It was a good one.
Mine was the hand.
Obviously.
I don't know why. But, like, when I read that, most people would be creeped out by that. Like, oh my gosh, he put a hand on her porch? And I'm like, girl,
Yeah.
that man put a hand on your porch.
I also really like the meet cute. Like when she's in the bookstore and she's doing her signing and he sees her from like across the bookstore and she just sees his two colored eyes, like, and she doesn't even realize later on that that was him until later in the book. So I feel like that is a really good part of it too. I enjoyed that.
Final thoughts. Who would we recommend to who?
Oh, goodness. Read the trigger warnings. If the trigger warnings don't scare you, then read the book because it's definitely worth the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we already talked about what we rated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we have discussed The Perfect Child. We've discussed Haunting Adeline. We already know that I'm going to read the second one. We're not doing a spin this time, just because Ashley's not happy with me. I have too much on my list right now. We got to take just a quick break. But this also gives you guys a chance if you want to give us some recommendations on which books we can put with which genres. So on our spinner wheel, we obviously have thriller. We had romance. What else did we have on there? Let me see if it'll load really
Fantasy.
quick.
I can't
Okay,
stop
so
you.
we had romance, romantasy, thriller, fantasy, dark romance, contemporary, and sci-fi. So if you have recommendations for those particular genres, let us know on our Discord, let us know on Instagram, let us know in the comments on YouTube, and we will put those on a list so that when we're doing this spinner, then we have some really good books to choose from that you guys want to discuss with us. So
And who knows?
definitely
Maybe I'll just throw them on the spinner.
Yeah, see, I was thinking that too. What if we just do a spinner with like viewer's choice, and that would be a good one to do as well.
That'd be really cool. Okay, wrap up. We did, like Miranda just said, we compared both books. Do they share a theme? Well, they're both in their own way a thriller. Are they different thrillers? Yes. Do they thrill you in different ways? 100%. Like I said, I don't want a Janie child. Heck
Well, if we're
no.
looking at the theme, not the genre, but the theme. So, like, I think one of the main one of the main themes I think of The Perfect Child is like, I mean, it's going to sound cliche, but don't judge a book by its cover. We have this little girl That is not what she seems to be, right? But I also feel like that goes along with Haunting Adeline, too. Don't judge a book by its cover, because we have Zaid, who seems to be this bad guy, but he has all this, like, inner goodness where he's doing something to make the world a better place. So I feel like that goes with both books.
Fine.
Sorry, English teacher.
I messed it up. God.
My bad.
We're both really tired today.
Yes.
When we both jumped on here today, we're excited to do this because, duh, we count down the days until we get to
Right.
record on Sundays. But we're both like, we're here. So yeah, they do. She's right. They do both share themes, even though they're both different genres. Thank you. Which book would you rather read if you had to pick between the two? I bet you I already know your answer.
Okay, well, we already said I'm more comfortable with romance, whether it's dark romance or contemporary romance or thriller romance. So we're gonna go with Haunting Adeline. I would definitely choose that one. I did like The Perfect Child, but it's just not something that I'm used to reading. Like you mentioned, it got us out of our comfort zone. Maybe I'll read more thrillers later, but I definitely liked Haunting Adeline better.
If I would have read The Perfect Child when I read Saving Noah, like I originally wanted to, I probably would have told you I would pick The Perfect Child first, because up until that point I'd never read a dark romance. I was scared of them because
With me.
trigger warnings. So, but today, like 100%, I loved The Perfect Child. I love Lucinda Berry, but H.G. Carlton's got my heart.
Yeah, and you mentioned that in episode 1, like, now I know what you mean. Now I understand when you were like, we gotta talk. I get it now. I get it.
And I have read almost all of her books, I think. I have Phantom that I still have to read. I've read Does It Hurt? I've read, of course, the Cat and Mouse series, like even the spin-offs. I'm calling it a series because technically it's a duet, but with all of her like novellas that are come around them, I'm still counting it as a series. I just finished Shallow River, which is also great. So I got to go see what other ones. But H.G. Carlton is definitely one of my like top 5 authors. I love her 100%.
Nice. Yeah.
So like Miranda said, join our Discord. We talk about our monthly picks. It's really easy. It's free. That's one thing that Miranda and I talked like deeply about, is we don't want to charge people for our thoughts. We've had the option to like start a podcast where you have to have a subscription to join. And there is a way on Discord where you can have people subscribe to join. If we ever do like subscribers, it'll be like, I don't know if you probably don't know who she is, but like I watch Horse Talk. I don't know why, but I follow a girl on TikTok, and when she has foals, she always shows her subscribers first, and then she releases it to the public the next day. So if we were to ever do anything in our subscribers or our paid content, you would never miss it. You would just be the first to know. So Discord, completely free. We just go in there, we chat about our books. Discord and Instagram will be the first places you'll go to find out what our monthly picks are, what our giveaways are. We do have lots of this or that posted. We have polls posted on Instagram. Lots of things to keep you interacting with us. We're always on there. So yeah, join Discord and chat with us in real time all the time. One thing Miranda and I are super excited to do this month is it's probably going to be a monthly thing. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. Discord would be fun, but not required. So we're giving away 2 books. We're going to give away A Perfect Child, and we're going to give away A Haunting Adeline. So in order to be in the giveaway, you need to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube, or follow us on YouTube and chat with us. Let us know. Invite a couple friends. The giveaway will be posted on Instagram with all of the rules. It'll also be in the description of the YouTube video as well. So I'm super excited about that. And I kind of want to make that a monthly thing. So whatever our choices were, we're going to give a book away. And it'll come straight from Amazon, straight to your house. So
Love
I'm
that.
excited.
So cool.
I'm so excited. So excited. So yeah. Miranda, you want to take it away?
All right, that is it. We have nothing else for you for now. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. If you have not watched episode 1, again, please watch that. It was a fun one. I really enjoyed doing it. And we just want to hear from you. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Is there any recommendations you have for us, whether it be books or platforms or whatever? Let us know. Otherwise, stay bookish, stay mashed, and
we'll catch you
in the next episode.
He never does it right.
No, you. It's you.
It's you. Okay.
Whatever. Moving on.
We'll catch you later, guys.